Hey everyone, so this is David Mario Smith and welcome to the Crunch. So today I have a interesting, special, awesome guest. Can't wait to get her on. But before we start, how's everyone's summer? Hope you had a good summer. This summer's been pretty busy for me. My son starts high school this week, so I'm super excited. Last week he had this basketball AU camp, and that was awesome. So this summer's just been like camp and some summer school a little bit, but it's been super busy. But back at the helm. Looking forward to a busy conference season this year. In tech, it's going to be interesting. All the announcements that are coming up. So should be interesting fall conference season coming up. But with no further ado, I'm going to bring on, hey, Sam.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, guys. So this is Samantha Darilek, VP of Communications at BlackLine. Sam, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am great. This is so cool that you're on here. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's so good to see you.
It's so funny, being, so I know Sam, obviously, from the analyst relations realm and comms. And so it's funny, she's usually the one sort of, handling me, bring me where I need to be, bring the questions to me. So now I get to ask you questions. This is awesome.
That's right.
You're in for it today. I'll be kind.
In the hot seat.
You are in the hot seat, Sam, indeed. So what's been going on? How's your summer so far?
It's going great. It's amazing. You and I were chatting backstage a little bit. I have 3 kids now. So that's been fun. And I've done a couple of work trips, had a great marketing leadership team offsite in Denver. So just busy doing it all.
Doing busy family and mom things, huh?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so now 3. That must be a very busy household right now.
Very busy household. Yep. But we have a routine, lots of structure. So that helps when you have a 7-year-old, 5-year-old, and 8-month-old. So it's going well.
You always need a routine, right? It's so funny. Like my son, he's a slave to routine. Like they rebel against the routine, but they love it, right?
You have to have it.
Thing, right?
I will go crazy if we don't have it.
Oh my God. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
So what else is going on with you? So BlackLine, right? VP of Comms at BlackLine.
Yes.
So what is your role like at BlackLine? What do you do?
Yeah, so I mean, it's truly everything from internal communications to external communications to executive communications, PR. I love it. I love the company and the people and my role and I love what I do. So all of that is so great. It's great, right? The entire industry is going through an interesting time. I was just on a call earlier with my CMO, and we were talking about having her on a podcast, and it was like, well, what's it like being a CMO in SaaS apocalypse? So it's a crazy time for everybody. So it's great. It's, it's where every day is different. And I think we have such a great team and such a great company. So really, really enjoying it.
No, I tell you, it is a very interesting time, and we're all, if anyone says they have the answers or they know what's going on or they got to figure it out, they're lying to you. Nope. None of us do, because especially the space we're in now, things change every week, right? And you're right. And so one of the real reasons I kind of wanted you on is everybody in tech, as we're talking backstage, is telling an AI story. Right now, right?
Yes.
But someone actually has to write that story, right? And
yes,
you're writing one for a company where in BlackLine, the product is a financial close almost, right? Which is the process, which is a process where a company proves its books are accurate before it reports them. So your whole business exists to kind of answer one question: is this actually true? And and truth is very important to you, or someone may go to jail. And so
that's right. That's exactly right. We always joke. I mean, when it's not a joke, but the office of the CFO, I mean, it is held to standards that other organizations, business functions are not held to. I mean, certain CFOs can go to jail. It truly, if everything is not accurate, everything's not auditable. And so I think really that's one thing that differentiates BlackLine is that in this time of chaos, we produce and can provide customers, and customers are, again, the office of the CFO, with that like auditable, immutable trail. So you can see what your AI has done. We have human oversight. I mean, it is, our CFO says like 95% accurate is 100% wrong. And so, I'm not a finance person, as we all know, by trade, but it really is a
Yeah.
different world. I can write an email and have AI,
Mhm.
enhance it. The office of the CFO doesn't have that luxury. It has to be, you
Yes.
know, down to the wire, what we call a glass box, because CFOs
Yes.
can't have a black box, right? So
Right.
it's so critical. And again, it's like we joke about it in marketing, like, okay, well, we can do this. We have some luxuries. The office of the CFO doesn't. And so if they want to embrace AI and embrace, the future, they have to do it in a way that's auditable, you
Yes.
know, maintains the integrity of the financial record. So it's a very stringent function, but that's good because we deliver that. So it's really cool.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. I mean, the industry talks about, glass box governance in your particular space. It's super, super important, right?
Yeah, it's non-negotiable.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Sam, so take me back, right? How'd you end up here? Like, was any
Yeah.
of this like the plan for you? Like,
No, no, no. I always, it's funny. I always think of my career in two
yeah,
parallel paths. So
yeah,
like one is business oriented. So I was very, blessed, very lucky when I came into the enterprise technology space.
mhm,
I was a part of a company. We were one of the last ones to go through an IPO before the '08 recession. So talk
mhm,
about a learning opportunity from a communications perspective.
mhm,
Even though I was very young, very low on the totem pole, I still was just, it's all hands on deck. And IPO is a huge thing, as you know.
mhm,
Well, fast forward, we did a take back private. So that's
mhm,
also an incredibly, it doesn't happen every day. And so I had
mhm,
such an incredible opportunity to learn about how that works. I mean, think of the communications you need from employees to the stock
mhm.
market to, it's
Yeah,
incredible. And then it's funny, subsequently that same company went public again, but I was gone by then.
yeah.
And then I was at a company where we were privately held, but our key investor injected like $1.2 billion of
Yeah.
investment back into the company. And so just all of these business initiatives, activities that you just wouldn't think, until you live them, you just don't know about them. So I feel so
Yeah.
incredibly blessed. And then the second parallel, I think, for my career is like technology.
Mhm.
And when I started my career, managed hosting was still a thing. I like
Remember,
worked at a
yeah.
managed hosting company.
Yeah.
And so that then became, right, this like race to the advent of cloud, which I feel super, just again, incredibly lucky to have been a part of. Little
Yes.
known fact, the company I was at, it's called Rackspace. At the time, we were the only company that had anything comparable to Amazon's EC2 product, right? So it was
Mhm.
like the beginning of cloud. And so that, as
Yeah.
you remember, was like the unknown. It was like the Wild West. Like,
Yes,
we
indeed.
it was, a race to the beginning. And obviously now we know Amazon's like, owns the world and is king of everything. But yes, but at the time it was a very real competition. And
No,
so I think, yeah, oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
No, that's it. I remember those days 'cause that's where I met you.
Yep, that's right.
Initially, yeah.
Exactly. And so it was like we were, navigating the Wild West. Like we were looking for you to be the expert, and you were, saying, "This is what I think."
I know
Uh,
nothing. I know nothing.
but it was a really fun time
Yeah,
because it was just so. And again, every day I felt like was something new. It's very reminiscent of those
yeah.
times. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I do feel like this AI world is very similar to the cloud days of like
Yes,
anything is possible. Things were growing exponentially. Um,
absolutely.
yes, and so I just feel very lucky where, kind of that technology path led me down of, you know, I remember we were working on, we were investing
Yeah.
in this VMware-based cloud. Our
Yeah.
executives, we were about to launch. I think I even pre-briefed you about it. Our
Mhm.
executives were like, "Nope, nope, we're killing it. We're gonna open source. We're gonna launch an open source community." And I just remember being like, "What? We're not charging people?" And so, and you remember that was the advent of OpenStack. And so I
Yeah.
just feel that's kind of how I look at my career. And I
Yeah.
feel so blessed that I've been able to sharpen both skills, right? And experience both parallels of business enterprise technology. So
Yeah.
it was a long ramble, but hopefully it made sense.
No, it does because yeah, we were kind of almost like kids growing up in this,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
but we're also blessed because we know the history
That's right.
of this like a little deeper, right? And so it
Hmm.
gives us context, especially from where I sit, right? I spend like
Hmm.
my days, on the other side of kind of what you do.
Right.
where somebody builds a story about their company, and my job sort of work out whether it holds up. Like,
Yeah.
like, does it make sense, right? And
Yes.
so I've always actually been curious about what it looks like from inside the room,
Yeah.
where you're the one actually building, and so to your point, you now have this history of context that now brings you to this point, and so how do you then now sort of, find a company story, not the process or the feeling of how do you know when you sort of hit that narrative right?
Yeah, I love that question because this is gonna sound a little cheesy, but for me, it's more like you get to know a company's personality. And so it's,
Mhm.
again, sounds cheesy, but this is very much how I feel. And it's
Yeah.
based on so many things. It's based on the employees. What do they say
Mhm.
when leadership's not in the room about the company? What do they feel proud of? And
Yeah.
or it's based on what does a leader get excited about when he's or she's maybe going off script a bit, right? Like, what are
Yeah.
those kind of nuanced things that make a company a company? And really, what does the company actually provide that's different? Why is it here? Why is it existence? And so, you really get to uncover that. And it doesn't
Mm.
happen overnight.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. At one company, I was brought in to lead comms for the merger, a big M&A initiative of 6 different companies. So 6 different
Mhm.
little startups. They were all ServiceNow implementation partners.
Mhm.
And this PE firm was going to make them one master company, one major ServiceNow implementation partner. It was it was one of the proudest achievements of my life because it was hard. I mean, think about
Yeah.
every company, although they were little, they each had their own personalities, they each had their own
Yeah.
set of values. They each had a leader, right? So all of the leaders now were coming together. And it was interesting because there was no like mother company, there was no one acquiring. They were
Yeah.
all equal in terms of what they brought to the table. And so
Mhm.
this was a really they brought in a CEO who is an incredible leader. And so his thought was, okay, how do we pull out the core values to really start our story? Like, what are
Mhm.
we about?
Yeah.
And so each of the companies previously maybe had a set of core values or something, they kind of a rally cry or whatnot. So we asked the employees, what matters to you? What do you care about? And so we derived those core values, and I will never forget that our leader CEO was like, it's not my job to create them, it's my job to uphold them. And so a lot of the comms came out of that, right? Like,
Yeah.
that really helped define the story behind that company. Like, okay, great, you
Yeah.
can say they're a ServiceNow implementation partner, woohoo, not that exciting. But
Right,
what
right.
is exciting is like that story and the people who are working hard every day to deliver to their customers, who deliver
Mhm.
empathy. Empathy was a big deal,
Yeah.
from a perspective of how would the customer feel if they were on the other side. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's an example of just how a story can come to life, and you really have to listen and pay attention and immerse yourself. And when it does, though, it's so amazing.
No, it's funny, and I always bring the parallel. I have a sort of a creative background. I grew up
Hmm.
with my dad was a musician.
Oh, that's right. I
Uh,
did know that. Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
so I kind of grew up around music. I always joke probably places a 7 or 8 year old shouldn't be in New York City during his rehearsals, but
That's young. I
but
have a
he would
7-year-old.
take me.
Yes.
Yeah, he would take
Yes.
me, and then oh my God, Times Square was crazy back then.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Oh my, it's
I don't
crazy,
want
but
my 7-year-old at Times Square now.
oh my God, but yeah, but it's way safer now. Oh my gosh, yeah, there were a lot of visuals in Times Square when I was a kid, like a lot of
That's awesome.
inappropriate visuals.
Yeah.
But but he when he crafts a song, right, and how I've even learned to in songwriting now, it's there is this sort of how do you connect with people, right? And the best songs are stories, and so
Mm-hmm.
that that storytelling, and it's almost like and it has to connect first with you, right? And then it has to be almost something visceral, an
Right.
emotional connection. And there's
That's right.
certain ways you can with the words, with the way the chords are being played, right? Certain
Hmm.
chords evoke certain,
That's right.
emotions. And so all these things play parts. So I always sort of like compare, narratives in business to sort of
Hmm.
songs that you have to sort of craft that song that's going to connect with people.
That's right. Yes. That's, if you boil marketing down to one thing, it's how do you make people feel about what you're doing, right? And so
Yeah.
it's, communications is we bring that story to life, but It is, you're spot on. And again, I think that's one thing that I really enjoy because, maybe a layperson might look at a technology or a software and not be that
Yeah.
excited about it, but
Yeah.
it's the story behind it. I think one thing I love about BlackLine's story is our founder. So she's an incredible person.
Hmm.
Therese Tucker is her name. She basically founded the space. She invented, financial software,
Yeah.
if you will. She's very cool. She has pink hair and she's been rocking pink hair for a long time.
Go
Super
pink
awesome lady.
hair. I
Yeah,
like
she's
pink hair.
super
Let's go.
amazing. But she's an incredible part of the story because although she's now retired, it's Blackliners feel so proud to have the founder
Yeah.
of our space at the heart of our company. So she's very
Yeah.
cool. And again, it's just bringing those stories up, to your point, that
Yeah.
make people feel and care and connect, right? And connect to
Exactly.
what you're doing.
And I think it was the Maya Angelou quote, right? Where people
Yeah,
don't remember what you say, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
that's
And
right.
I think
That's exactly
that
right.
applies so much here. Is like how do you make people feel? And so,
Hmm.
and that's really at the heart of we throw around the word the term CX around in customer experience, but that's what the experience is about. What are people actually experiencing? How are they feeling when they are interacting with your brand?
Exactly. That's right. Yeah, it's funny. We have our big user conference every year, and I think I went for the first time last year.
Mhm.
And talking to people on the ground, they love BlackLine because it makes them more productive, or it
Mhm.
makes them more agile. And so it's like so wonderful when you talk to the customers, because to your point, like, you get to really see
Yeah.
that, again, maybe it's just technology, but maybe it's a really cool platform, but we're offering them something that's making their day better, their lives easier,
Yeah.
their careers more strategic. So it's really
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, and so I'll tell you this about music too. But when you're building, like a narrative, the story, right, and you're crafting this, is there sort of a persona, a person in your head that you're actually sort of writing for, that you're addressing, targeting?
No, there's not like a persona. There is, though, like and this is hard to put into like a framework,
Mm,
but there's like a feeling.
mm,
So, different companies feel different,
yeah.
and what works at one place doesn't work at another. You can
Mm,
come with your bag of tricks, which I
mm,
have. You start a new company, you're like,
yeah.
I've done all this, look at all these great ideas I had, and sometimes they don't work at certain companies because, again, the personality of that company doesn't lend itself to what maybe worked at another company. So it
Ooh.
really is. And yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Even programs that had widely successful
Yeah.
metrics at one company, and this is true story, I tried to implement at another company, it doesn't work. People don't care about
Mm,
it. um it falls flat. And it's interesting because it's the exact same
mm,
program,
yeah.
but it doesn't necessarily always translate because each company is full of its own unique people, and it has its own unique differentiation and own unique
Yes.
leadership. So it really is uncovering what works for your company. And that's why I think what makes a good communications person, makes it special. Like, this is not just, maybe the programs can be repeated, but the
Yeah.
essence of it can't.
Why that is so key, because what you're describing is really, like you're it's not cookie cutter, right?
Mm-mm.
I mean, like, your general audience overall, but
Sure.
what you're crafting is not cookie cutter. You're really crafting, solving specific problems, right?
Yep.
And you're addressing unique needs,
That's right.
and you're not doing it in a cookie cutter way, but you're making sure that you're thoughtful and you're going for that. Again, the
Yeah.
word feeling keeps coming up in this conversation.
Hmm.
Feeling, like, first of all, what are you feeling, right? And
Hmm.
and how are they feeling, from the customer standpoint? So
It's
that's key.
It is key. And it's one of those things, I have a bias towards communication, but you also have to say, like, maybe they feel communicated to enough. Maybe they're maybe they're bombarded with it. So you really have to always have a pulse for what you're putting out externally and internally. And I
Yeah.
really like for my internal
Mhm.
foundation to feed externally,
Yeah.
right? So it's this like really nice loop of consistent, clear communication. But yeah, sometimes you have to look back and say, okay, maybe you guys have had enough. Maybe
Yeah.
you're feeling very communicated too. So that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm over talking. Oh,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so quick. Yeah, and your situation is interesting too, because it's different, right, from almost
Yeah.
anyone else telling an AI story. And we sort of talked about some of that before, because in most software, right, if the AI gets something, maybe a little wrong, it's a bad output, right? Somebody
Yes.
notices, you fix it.
Yes.
In your world, right? It's a confidently wrong answer can become like a restatement.
Yes.
Like you have to go publicly back and correct financial results. That's already filed,
Yes.
right? And so it's a very different consequence.
It is. Our CEO, he's so funny, he's so great. He says, I'll do anything for this company, but I won't go to jail. And so, and I don't blame him. So it's true. It's like, it has to be right. It has to be accurate. Obviously for our customers, even for us though, right? So it's very, we don't have a lot of wiggle room like other functions do in this time of AI. It has to be governed. And that's our big thing, is that it has to be glass box, not black box. It cannot be, there's, to your point, there's no room for misinterpretation.
Yeah. It also, and I wonder too, maybe, does it make the job harder, or you just have to be a little bit more cleaner, because you can't get away with, like fluff and
I will say, actually, no, because it shouldn't be rooted in fluff anyway. It should be there's the messages we tell and the stories we convey and the communication, and it should always be rooted in truth. And that's one thing I do appreciate about communications versus marketing is, the audiences we have don't really respond well to marketing speak.
Yes.
So my audiences want a story, they want results, they want metrics, but in a way that's understandable, not like how we would report it to the Wall Street, right? So it is, I would say, it doesn't make the job harder. It's something I always try to do, is be accurate and truthful, and come from a place of integrity for the company, because no one wants to feel like it's not in a place of authenticity.
Exactly. And I'll tell you why this kind of hits me. I spent this whole year arguing around, the context isn't enough, and it's because of what you're saying. Actually, it's AI can have all the context in the world, right? But if what is working from isn't true, or the truth, you just built a faster way to be wrong, right? And
it's so right. It's like, it's funny, our CEO says this as well. It's like, think of it as a river, and so like anything, it has to be clean, right? Like garbage in, garbage out. It can't be upstream versus downstream. It has to be clean at the source. And so we talk about that a lot, and that's something I think that we've been talking about, quite frankly, before this AI explosion. So I think that's great. And it is, you're right, it has to be, this is like a very simple way of putting it, but it's like, you have to be able to check AI's homework. Like, you can't just say, okay, great, go ahead and close the books. So it really is.
You're right. Because you need the context, but it has to be truth, right? And then it has to be right. So the whole glass box governing things has to be, governable, accountable, and verifiable. My daughter, always tells me, Dad, you were loud and wrong. And it's, and so context is that, like, I'm being loud. Yeah, I got the context. I know what's going on, but without the truth, I could be loud and wrong. And
that's so right. As confident as you may feel, it could be wrong.
Yes, so confidently wrong.
Yes, that's right. Proudly wrong.
And it's funny. And accounting has been living that discipline for like a century now, right?
Totally. That's their bread and butter. That's right.
Yeah. And so now I think the rest of the enterprise is starting to sort of discover verification a little more, but you guys have already been doing this.
That's why we exist. So yeah, totally. This has been our thing. But yeah, I do feel, I feel proud that we can have that differentiated story that actually is valuable. And I think that maybe a sense of, right now it's a lot of chaos. Like, I was talking to a couple of our stakeholders, and it's like, maybe executives, not just CFOs, don't know what good looks like in terms of ROI for AI. Like, they don't know. And so I think being able to be with a company that can provide that kind of, maybe even just a sense of respite right now in the chaos that is AI, is great.
Oh my God. So what is, in the day now, where there's so many, things in regards to deep fakes and so forth. I mean, how does a communications team these days, even, handle stuff like that?
Well, I will say I learned a lot from our CISO. She is fantastic. She actually used to be a FBI agent.
Oh, wow.
And she's super cool.
That's hardcore.
She's wonderful. We should have her on one day. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
She is really, I mean, one of the best CISOs I've ever worked with. She's so smart about ensuring the company is armed and we're evolved in terms
Mhm.
of the risks that are, the risk vectors that exist.
Yeah.
So she's a great partner and a great
Mhm.
educator, because things are changing, the threats
Yeah.
are evolving, and so I really do feel like having her at the helm is fantastic for me from a, information security perspective. She really is very cool. She was
Yeah.
also the CISO for Mattel. So she's just really cool.
Okay. Oh, wow. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's awesome.
Wait. Yeah, I mean, because yeah, in this day and age, again, with AI, yeah, we're seeing again where context isn't enough. You
Mm-hmm.
do need that truth, right? And it has to be
Mm-hmm.
governable, and you have it has to be accountable. And to your point, you have to tell the AI when it's wrong.
That's right. Yeah.
You're being
Yes.
loud and wrong, AI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that's right. Well, and it's Jill Kinesic is our CISO. I can't imagine well, I talk to her often, but
Mm,
just the daily probably flags that her and her team have, and that's because
yeah,
we have really high standards for security. Because again, it's table stakes for us, and then we go
mhm,
beyond that to really differentiate ourselves. So, and I can't remember the formal name of it, but we have one of the only AI kind of security certifications out there. So, because
mhm.
it's so new and so quickly changing. Who knows
Yeah.
where the industry will be in 6 months to a year.
No, I tell you because yeah, things change. I mean, models are changing, and I
Hmm.
think we're finally in a place right now where all the different models, whether it's from Anthropic, to
Hmm.
Claude and OpenAI and ChatGPT, is like all the models are like almost getting pretty
Hmm.
similar, right? In terms of what they can do from a capability standpoint. Now it's
Sure. Yeah.
about now it's about
Yeah.
how do you now begin to sort of measure the
Hmm.
ROI for your enterprise, right? And that's
Hmm.
hard to measure. That's one thing I don't think we've ever answered yet. How do you
Oh,
actually
I don't think
measure the
so.
ROI for this stuff?
I don't think so. Like I said, I mean, even um, constituents or stakeholders that I talk to is like, people are looking. What does good look like? They don't
Yeah,
know. Is this the best I can get, or is this what I paid all this money? Am I getting what I thought I would get out of it?
yeah,
Oftentimes, it's no these days. But again, it's like
yeah.
we don't have an answer for that ROI question yet.
We don't. I mean, one thing. So I do a lot of work in the collaboration and in the CX space, and one of
Hmm.
the things I've been sort of preaching is you do need to establish from any vendor that you're looking at, a, almost like a universal context layer, right? Because you
Yeah.
do need the context, but that vendor has to provide that layer so you can bring everything in context. Tying into different systems, whether it's your CRM systems, HR or support or whatever.
Hmm.
But context is going to be key. And as we're saying today, like with context and then the truth, right? What is
Hmm.
actually true, right? Is this
Hmm.
data true? Is what you're saying true? And then you need a governance layer, right? That the governance mechanisms to be able to hold that thing accountable and make sure it can be verified. Because especially in your field, I just did this project for this one vendor, aimed toward financial services and healthcare, which are
Hmm.
highly regulated,
I
and
can't.
so
Yes, that is the probably one of the most ultimately highly regulated. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And then I'm working on this other piece around the creative, design world, where they've actually been in this for a while. Because imagine like an image, right? That's copyrighted by someone else,
Hmm.
and then now your company's using that in marketing material. That's
Yep.
a no-no, right? And so there's all these, in different fields. This
It's
whole thing about accountability, governance, truth, right?
it,
Riz ugly head everywhere.
it's right. We think about every organization has a finance function. So our
Mm,
customers are far and wide. Like, you know,
yeah.
every industry, so we have to be able to familiarize ourselves with the needs of, healthcare finance
Mhm.
organizations, with the needs of, oil and gas finance
Yeah.
organizations. So it really is an interesting time to be, in enterprise technology, certainly in the software space. So it's been great.
No, yeah. And so, Sam, what would you tell someone coming up behind you if you were to play mentor right now? What would you tell the next person coming up behind you?
I would say that you are going to fail. And
Mm,
and that's okay. Like certainly it's not a reflection of, sometimes it is a reflection of, rookie mistake, but sometimes it's out of your
Yeah.
control. And,
Yeah.
I think one of the big things about communications is we don't operate in a silo, and
Mm.
we can't. And, I think, I'll give you an example, and this is, certainly one that was out of my control. I mentioned that when I first started in my career, the company I was at, we went public right before the '08 recession. So we were like the last
Mm.
company to go public.
Yeah.
And, and I don't remember the correct figures, but let's say we projected the stock to come in at like 25.
Mm.
It came in at $4. And so that was, and you're like, I was a young communications professional, and you're like, oh my God, with all this hard work.
Yeah.
And it's just an example of your job as a communications leader is to be agile, to be ready, to be, unflappable sometimes, because there's so much you can't control. So all we can do is work with what we can control, which is, a reactive statement to how, that stock price didn't bother us because, we believe in the future of the company. I can't remember what it was, but it's just a very example of, it's not going to go the way you plan because conditions are unpredictable, markets are unpredictable.
Yes.
Executives are unpredictable. I used to have an executive when, like, you could not call his baby ugly. So he was a founder, and he just could not receive feedback from external audiences. And so it's like, you have to count your wins where you can. I remember getting him to speak to the analysts. I remember being like, great job. That, the fact that we're having a conversation is a huge win, because just refused to, because, God forbid you call his baby ugly. And I understood it. I think a lot of it is empathy too, right? Like he had spent his life building this company. So I completely understand. But then on the flip side, we were hoping that he could see, like, look, this is just for improvement, right? This is for everyone. And so, yes, go ahead.
No, that's funny because you mentioned calling your baby ugly, and I remember my first, when I first started at Gartner in the analyst role, and I remember I wrote my first piece, and the Gartner peer review process is like Roman
Brutal.
gladiator. Like it is an insanely hardcore battle. I mean, they call your baby, your mama, your grandma ugly. Like they call everybody ugly. Like
genetic line.
Yeah. Like, what are you thinking? It's like, but what it does, it creates some thick skin. For
yes, it does. You have to have thick skin.
Yeah, you've been told stuff outside of your name.
Like, in a peer review.
In a peer review, like, are you talking about me or the document?
These are your peers. They're supposed to be on your side.
This sounds personal.
So true. It is so true. I have had, executives scream and yell, and it's like, they're not yelling at you, but you're the comms person, and so you're there, and it's like you do have to have thick skin, because again, back I think to empathy is very important. Like, you have to understand why people are so impassioned, because it's their lives. So it really is. But yes, to your point about, I remember again, back to giving yourself those wins, because sometimes no one else is going to do it.
Exactly.
We had this Gartner report about us and one of our offerings, and I remember it had hype in the title, and I said, no, we need to change this. Of course, the executives were screaming at me, so we got the title changed, which, at Gartner, that is all not very, common. It's yes. And I just remember being like on cloud 9, and all the executives were like, that's what it should have been in the first place, and so for me, I'm like, that's a huge win. So I think just knowing your worth, knowing that you're making a difference. People may not understand the nuances of communications, but it matters, and it's important.
And that's funny you said that, because it is knowing your worth, and being your true, authentic self at work is so important. And I know for me, it was a battle through my career, the whole imposter syndrome thing, but sort of, and it took me to now, and you still battle with it, but it took me to now to realize, what,
it's so true.
You have to be yourself. You have to be who you are, and bring yourself to work brings the best work, right?
That's right. And when when things are tough, I feel like at least you're doing your best work and being your best self. to your point about imposter syndrome, I mean, I just remember years of getting, like, let's say a technical download, and then I'd be afraid to ask a question, and the person next to me would ask the question that I was thinking. I'm like, it was a perfectly reasonable question.
Yeah.
There's nothing, it didn't
Yeah.
reflect my intelligence or my capability, and so I think for folks coming up in the world, or people, kind of still battling with it, it's a real thing. And,
It is. Yeah.
it is a real thing. And again, know your worth. When you know your worth, and to your point, it takes a long time,
Yeah.
it
It takes
takes
a while.
it
Yeah.
takes a while. But I just remember being like in my head, like, when I asked that question, I was wondering it this whole time. And so anyway, imposter syndrome is real, and it's very much. I mean, I think it can slow you down if you let it.
No, no, absolutely. I remember. I always tell her I was at again, speaking about being your true authentic self. Like, I'm a hip hop head. I grew up on hip hop. I rap myself, and so I remember I was at this conference, and these guys were typical Silicon Valley tech bros.
Yes.
Rocking the sneakers, the jeans. As one guy had like a Wu-Tang t-shirt on, but what's funny is I looked at myself. So this is back in my Gartner days, so I'm looking at myself. I'm having the Gartner blue, the blazer, the shirt. I'm like, I am uptight. Like, I'm not. I'm like,
what is
I'm
going
super uptight, and I'm like, I want to be free like that. So just bring myself
free. It's true. Speaking of Gartner blue, so embarrassing. One time I purposely wore Gartner blue to the conference I was like, I got asked so many times where the restroom was. They got asked so many. They thought I was like a helper. And I was there with our CTO, and you remember John Ingates, and he was couldn't get enough of it. And I was just trying to be in theme. So no, that is my Gartner blue story. Yes. So literally I would have changed if I could have. But
so if you guys didn't know, Sam and I go back.
Way back.
So, guys, to the Rackspace days. Remember that awesome office you guys had? Wasn't it a mall or something?
It was an old mall. Yeah, it was actually, it was an old mall. He was our chairman of the board, and he wasn't one of the founders. But he's Graham Weston, such a wonderful man. Actually, he literally is truly a good human. He purchased an old mall that was abandoned, and actually used it for Hurricane Katrina
I didn't know that.
evacuees. Yeah, before, because I think construction was like maybe underway or whatnot. I can't remember the timing. But yeah, he did use it for evacuees as well. But yeah, it was an old mall, I think 1 million square feet. Super cool. Wow. We had a slide.
I remember the slide.
That was like the big thing. Yeah, you had to go down the slides like a rite of passage instead of walking down the stairs. No, it's a great office. It was a great company. But on one note on Graham Weston, I do want to make a note. He said the thing to me. He said a phrase that I use from eternity on about an engaged employee. And so he basically says, people want to be valued members of a winning team on an inspiring mission. And if you have those three things, that's the trifecta for success. And I will never forget that, because it's so true. You want to be valued, right? You want to be winning. It doesn't feel good not to win. And you have to have a mission that underlies what you're doing, because then you're just kind of floating. So anyway, side note on Graham Weston, great person, really very inspiring. Yeah, he's a really good guy.
I think we can end on that one. That was powerful. No, that was
it's
powerful.
Good. Yeah. That's all Graham Weston. I'm not taking credit for that quote. That's it.
I mean, where's your self-help book? On the shelf now.
Maybe that'll come next.
Winning in Life by Sam Darilek. Finding Your Purpose by Sam.
Good title.
Sam, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Oh my gosh. So good to catch up.
I love these conversations because, like, I don't look at the time and I look, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like,
it flies by. I can't believe it. Yeah, no, same. It's been great.
You're talking to good people and you're telling good stories, and everyone loves a good story, right?
That's right. So good to see you, my friend. Thank you for having me.
Likewise. Thanks for having, and thanks everyone for joining. See you next time.